Welcome to the West Ham Voice. Thank you for joining me. I commend, first of all, the West Ham Network for the 24-hour marathon that they're doing with regards to helping Iron's food banks. A quite crucial time in our lives at the moment where people are really suffering because of the current cost of living crisis. I wasn't able to get a time slot on the 24-hour marathon, but hopefully this is my little bit to try and help them out. Times are hard for all of us, but others are finding it even more increasingly difficult. More people are dependent on food banks, nurses, NHS staff, teachers, pensioners, etc., because of the cost of living crisis that's happening. Food banks have been increasing in terms of usage. 90% of food banks surveyed recently suggested that demand in 2022, December 2022 through to January, compared to earlier in the year, had increased enormously. It's a tough time. Slumping wages in real terms, cost of soaring inflation, etc. Food banks are struggling to meet record demand. And most food banks are suggesting that if it continues, they might be in a position where they start having to turn people away. That's really awful. Look, if you've yet to make a donation, the ticker tape is along the bottom to justgiving.com. Crowdfunding, Iron supporting food banks. Please do go and make a donation. And especially with regards to Iron's food banks, who've been collecting on behalf of Newham food banks at West Ham home games at the London Stadium since the end of December 2019. It's a small group of West Ham fans and friends collecting at home games 3 hours before kickoff. The donation point is on Stratford Walk, opposite the Park Information Centre, en route to from Westfield to the stadium itself. As I said, they collect on behalf of Newham Food Banks in Beckton and began back in 2019. They supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. So well done to John Ratomski and all the others who are involved in that. And like I said, please do try and go in and make any donation that you can will be very, very welcome. Right, what's this show about? Well, it's a very brief one, and it's, of course, the relegation battle that we're facing. And the next 5 days, including today, including Saturday, could be really, really crucial to West Ham United and other teams in the bottom 3. With just under a third of the Premiership season left, there are 9 teams who are still mired in the relegation dogfight. From Crystal Palace in 12th place, right down to Southampton at the bottom of the table. Only 4 points separate these 9 teams, and the next 5 days of Premier League football is likely to have a big impact on which of these teams are likely to start pulling away from the bottom 3 and which of them are likely to get further sucked in to that part of the relegation of the table. You can see it's hard to determine which of these 9 teams are showing any decent level of form at the moment. But if you had to pick one, you have to cast your eye over Leeds United, who in the last 5 games have accumulated 7 points. That's the best of the teams in the bottom 9 teams. That's the highest achievement, where they beat Southampton at home by a 1-0. Then they got a 2-2 draw against Brentford at home. And more recently, an away win, a 4-2 away win against other relegation strugglers, Wolverhampton Wanderers. And perhaps that's where the key lies for any of these teams in the bottom half of the table, and that's to beat the teams around them. I'm going to go through the games that are happening over the next 5 days as they, in chronological order, to try and get some semblance, to try and get some idea of who might be able to start pulling away from the bottom 3. And of course, we start on Saturday with 3 p.m. kickoffs. The first one we have is Bournemouth that play Fulham, Arsenal hosting Leeds, and there's a 6-pointer between hosts Nottingham Forest and Wolves. Then another 6-pointer between Crystal Palace and at home to Leicester. So Bournemouth are one of the teams performing kind of like better, you could argue, with 2 wins in their last 5 games, where their last win was at home against Liverpool. However, when they did go on to lose away to Aston Villa in the game just before the international break. They face a Fulham team who, although are clear from the bottom of the relegation dogfight, are going into this game with 2 defeats and a draw in their last 5 games. So not the greatest form. And Bournemouth might believe that they may have the advantage over Fulham, who will be missing key players and their manager because of recent red cards in the cup competition. It's a tough one to call. And it would not surprise me if Bournemouth got themselves a valuable win in this game. Next up, Arsenal host Leeds United. And it's going to be difficult for the away team, isn't it? They're going to be valiant. I'm sure they're going to try and put in a great effort. But Arsenal have got a 100% record in their last 5 games and currently look unstoppable. I can't see Arsenal faltering, to be quite honest with you. I would imagine they'll feel confident to get 3 points against Leeds on Saturday. Next up is Nottingham Forest against Wolves. As I said, another 3 p.m. kickoff. Both teams have lost their last 2 games, with Wolves having marginally done the better than Forest over the last 5 games in total, with Wolves having gained 4 points and Forest only 2. Forest are fully reliant on their home run to keep them up this season. My feeling is that this could be a draw, which won't really do either team many favours. There are 2 teams that are currently nosediving at the moment in this moment in time, and they are Crystal Palace and Leicester City. Neither team has won a game between them in the last 5, and they play each other at Palace at 3 p.m. on Saturday in another massive relegation 6-pointer. Palace's last defeat, a 4-1 drubbing at the hands of Arsenal, was the 4th straight defeat in a row, which led to the sacking of Patrick Vieira and the reappointment of Roy Hodgson. Now, many might mock the signing of Hodgson, but an equal number of fans also believe that he could be the catalyst for a mini Palace resurrection. In his time at Palace, he oversaw 162 games, winning 54, a 33% win success rate, which could prove to be more than enough if he repeats that in the final 10 games that Palace have to play. If in Hodgson's previous tenure at Palace, he wasn't afraid to use an attack-minded formation as well. A win for Palace will put them on 30 points, and they would start to think that perhaps just another couple of wins and a draw here and there could be well enough to survive relegation this season. As for Leicester, they've got a deserved 1-1 draw against Brentford in their last outing, which halted a run of 4 straight defeats for them as well. They will believe that they can also pull off something away to Palace. It'll be close, but I think just with the Hodgson bounce, Palace might just get the 3 points here. Then we move on to Sunday. And of course, West Ham United are in the fray for another crucial relegation 6-pointer against bottom of the league, Southampton. With only 1 win in their last 5, we're by no means the worst of the bunch down there. And we have what seems to be an almost fully fit squad. Yes, I know David Moyes went on record in the press conference to talk about Scamacca's knee, but I don't think he would likely to have been a starter anyway. And of course, we got Antonio back and Danny Ings as well. He also mentioned Agerd having a grumbly hip, whatever that means, and Emerson coming back feeling a bit sick. But I think Moyes will be happy with the squad that he's got no real major injury concerns from the international break. And obviously, he's going to try and put out a really strong team against the Saints. The big question will be whether he starts Antonio or Ings up top. And I really do hope that he does the right thing by going for the former Saints striker to face his old club. Southampton seem to have their own injury concerns, so let's hope that this is a good time to be facing them, especially at home. And this will be the first of a 9-game busy April for West Ham United. To start it with a win would be fantastic. Southampton do go into this game feeling confident, as they themselves have matched West Ham's record of the past 5 with 5 points in their last 5 games. But I have to be confident, and I've got to look toward West Ham gaining a valuable 3 points in this tie on Sunday. We move into Monday night, and Everton are in action against Spurs, who would play their first game without the recently departed Antonio Conte. With Conte's recent outburst against Daniel Levy and a number of the players in the squad, it was inevitable that the parting of the ways was going to happen. They are fortunate to have had the international break to calm the nerves, but I'm sure it would have left a sour taste in a lot of players' mouths. Sean Dyche would inevitably use that to use the Spurs turmoil to gee up his players. But I think at the same time, the Spurs players are likely to want to show that there's something in the squad to prove Conte wrong. What do I see with that? It's a tough one. I think it's quite possible that that could end up in a draw as well. Then we move into Tuesday's fixtures, and the first of those is Bournemouth, who will host Brighton. Brighton are in great form at the moment, 7th in the league, within a shout of European football, just the 1 defeat in their last 5. I can see Brighton taking all 3 points in that game, I'm afraid. Then on to the same night, Leeds United host Nottingham Forest, yet another crucial relegation 6-pointer. As it stands, Forest has the 3rd worst record amongst the bottom 9 teams, with just 2 draws and 3 defeats in their last 5 games. Plus, they have the worst away record of any team this season in the Premier League. So for me, it's going to be Leeds who are going to claim all 3 points here. Then on the same night, Leicester play local rivals Aston Villa, who they themselves have had a resurgence of late, with 3 wins and a draw in their last 5 games, pulling them well away from the relegation zone. I have a feeling that Leicester will lose all 3 points against Aston Villa. I think they'll be too good for them. And then we finish the 5-day footballing marathon when we host Newcastle in a game that was rearranged from the very early start of the season. Newcastle have won 2 and lost 1 of their last 5 games, but 2 wins have been against other relegation strugglers, Wolves and Forest. We did extremely well against them when we got a really deserved draw away to them just a couple of months ago. And I'm going for another draw in this tie. So after 4 days of football, after 5 days of football, I think the Premier League at the bottom end will look something like this. I think Crystal Palace will get 3 points. And like I said earlier, I think they'll see that as being enough to start pulling away from the bottom half of the league. Leeds United, again, will get their vital points. And on 29 points, they'll also be confident as well. Now, West Ham, I think with a win and a draw, will be on 28 points, fingers crossed. But I think, again, we might start looking up rather than looking down. But even so, being on 28 points will still put us 1 point away from the relegation zone. Then you have a number of then Wolverhampton Wanderers as well on 28 points. And then you have a small number of teams with on 27, Bournemouth, Everton and Nottingham Forest. And I think Leicester, we always see one team that's going to just sort of not continue to nosedive, but it wouldn't surprise me if Leicester, with their low points tally, might drop into the relegation zone after these next 5 days. And Southampton, unfortunately, will be rooted to the bottom spot on 23. And then they've got Man City next weekend. Now, and that will be another show in its own right. Right. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciated. As I said, if you've yet to give a donation to Just Give to crowdfunding and supporting food banks, please do that with the ticker tape along the bottom. Much appreciated for watching. Good luck to the West Ham Network for the rest of the day. I think they're going to 5 o'clock to finish their 24-hour marathon. And I'll see you all very soon.